Good morning and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, where we take a look at headlines from our city, our state, our country, Mexico, along with all kinds of information that helps us connect with our town, Puerto Vallarta, our culture, our surroundings, as a community of English-speaking locals. As always, it is a pleasure to find ways to create these connections for you. And if this is the first time that you're with us, feel free to let us know that you are new by adding the word new to your comments. And if you have any important questions or comments to make during the broadcast, please feel free to do so. Just add the letter Q at the beginning of your comment, and we will be very happy to address it as soon as possible. Today is Thursday, April 29th, and we have some important news to share that have to do with seniors getting vaccines. We have news about the highway, reactions from Governor Alfaro. We have news about the Pfizer vaccine. And of course, we have feedback. We have to look at some questions that you shared in yesterday's show, and I'd like to address those. And then I have some birthdays that I'd like to mention to you that you may be interested in sharing with me and celebrating with me. But let us get started first and foremost with the news. Well, as we informed yesterday, local seniors that had not received their vaccines for whatever reason when they were available had the opportunity to do so yesterday at the Ixtapa Dome. According to this report, the delivery was fluid, constant, and successful, and this was largely due to the logistics coordination between federal, state, and municipal authorities. According to a news item that we shared yesterday, senior vaccination at the Ixtapa Dome continues today and tomorrow. From what I've read here and there, all you have to do is show up. So that's exactly what I would do. In other news, according to Dr. Ugur Sahin, and I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, he is the co-founder of BioNTech, the manufacturers of the Pfizer vaccine. And according to Dr. Sahin, those individuals that received the 2 doses of the vaccine, of the Pfizer vaccine, of course, may very well need a third booster shot. According to their findings, the level of protection that the Pfizer vaccine brings starts to decrease such that after 6 months, the rate of protection is no longer 95%, but it drops down to 91%. Dr. Sahin indicated that a third dose will be useful to bring the protection level back to as close to 100% as possible, and that a third shot should be applied 9 months after the second one, or within a year at the latest. For that matter, he indicated that just as with the common flu, a booster shot will be needed for COVID-19 every 12 or 8 months moving forward. So We don't know exactly what's going to happen as of yet, but I have read these news about the Pfizer vaccine elsewhere before, and I'm sure you have too. I just thought it was a pertinent thing to bring up at this time. Um, I also wanted to let you know that Mexico will begin bottling, or in other words, producing the Russian anti COVID vaccine Sputnik 5 beginning this coming month. According to the Fondo de Inversiones Directas de Rusia, or Russian Direct Investment Fund, after they met with Foreign Affairs Chancellor Marcelo Ebrard. This, along with the delivery of more than 23 million doses of the vaccine, is what Chancellor Ebrard is hoping to iron out during his current visit to Russia. He is there right now. So far, 900,000 doses of the Russian vaccine have had very favorable results here in Mexico, and the developers assure that it has an effectiveness rate of 97.6%. We've read elsewhere that the effectiveness rate is only a relative thing. I'm not entirely knowledgeable of these things, but I suppose it is a good thing that Chancellor Ebrard is making sure that we have as much access to any vaccines as possible. Needless to say, we will continue to see how his visit to Russia unfolds and whether that accelerates the delivery of these vaccines that Russia has already committed to deliver. Moving on in other notes, it is not uncommon that a newspaper will print an item about something and then the authorities will be questioned about that particular something. And this seems to have happened with the news about the Guadalajara-Puerto Vallarta highway's lack of completion. Apparently, Jalisco Governor Enrique Alfaro described the delay as yet another example of terrible planning and execution. The governor also said that he does not know or understand exactly why the construction has stopped, but has demanded the federal government to release an explanation. He said, and I'm quoting, "It is truly embarrassing that the national security of communications and transportation has not resolved this issue." He said this in an interview for Mural, Guadalajara newspaper. "It is incredible that after all these years," he added, "such an important project for an essential tourism destination in Jalisco like Puerto Vallarta, and in Mexico for that matter, has not been concluded." He went on to add the fact that he met successfully with the previous Secretary of Transportation several times, but the current one has yet to grant him a meeting. Let's see, what else do we have? I think it is time. Is it time to move into your feedback? Yes, it is. Let me tell you that I was very grateful to read some of your comments regarding Walking Wednesday yesterday. Nothing makes me happier than to learn that here at Coffee and Headlines, we've made a productive, memorable, or otherwise pleasant connection among yourselves or between you and our city and our restaurants and our culture, our life in general. In fact, it is that type of feedback that nurtures me to keep coming back day after day. Many times I go out to restaurants and people will say to me, "Hey, somebody from Coffee and Headlines came to visit us," and that makes my day. Or when you guys let me know, "Hey, I tried something that you recommended and it was great," that makes my day. As I've said before, there are also those questions or comments for which a response might be useful to more than one person. So rather than answering them or addressing them on a one-to-one basis, I choose to bring them to the broadcast. So this is exactly what we're going to do now. Starting with this one. What is the quickest way to find the video of your tasting birriera? I know it has been a few months ago. Somebody sent me a note to this effect, and I am happy to answer this question. The easiest way to find the video is to go onto the website for Coffee and Headlines, and you know the URL because we post it every single day. And on the website, there is a search box, so you can just type the term here. Of course, there's a small detail. It is actually not called, what was it that it was called? It is not called birriera. It is called birria. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type the word birria And in typing the word birria, we see the results, and then we learn that it was back on January 6th that we walked the part of Colonia Versalles, and we learned a thing or two about birria, a Jalisco tradition. So more often than not, the easiest way for you to find answers to your questions is through this search function on the website. Then we heard from Mark Colby Peterson yesterday. Mark asked, Paco, did you change the format? Did an internet troll piss you off? Well, not exactly. This past Monday, and you were here too, it became quite clear to me that somewhere along the line, I must have said or done something that somehow gave some of you the impression that I enjoy being the butt of the joke, or even worse, that it is okay for you to make me the butt of the joke, even when you may think you are coming from a place of friendship or love or kindness. In my mind, making fun of people is a dangerous affair. In my mind, there is a subtle yet abysmal difference between laughing with someone and laughing at someone. Um, and for better or worse, I'm extremely sensitive to the latter. So until I find what it is that I did wrong to somehow signal you that it is okay to throw pies at me, yes, I am trying a few format changes. It is very clear to me that the community or sense of community is important to you. It is very important to me too. So this is not going to go away. But the community needs to be safe and kind for those of us that are part of it. I continue to monitor your feedback and comments as closely as ever, even more closely than before. So, I'm still keeping an eye, making sure that the space here is safe and nurturing and productive and inspiring for all. It also became quite clear to me that some of you feel it is perfectly acceptable to make comments about this, that, and the other while I'm making a music presentation, and I think that is rude. I wouldn't put up with it if you were my students, and if I was a performer in town and you were chit-chatting through my show, I'd have you kicked out. So rather than force-feeding Monday music to you, I am making it go away to focus on other content that may be more useful and more enjoyable to you. And since Sunday Funday is the one day in which I put myself out in the most vulnerable position for you to throw pies at me, I'm giving myself a day off, and I am getting rid of Sunday Funday as well. Plus, who says we cannot be funny during the rest of the week? Moving on with the comments. Let's see. Lisa said, Paco, I miss having your face on the screen chatting with us on the walk. Lisa, thank you for that. I miss it too, but I'm afraid it won't happen until I can figure out a way in which I can make sure that if I'm sharing my face with you during something, you're not going to throw pies at me. Or in other words, until I can figure out a healthier balance in which you find value in the content and I remain motivated to provide and share it in a nurturing way. Let's see what else we have. Anna Sparks says, in Costa Alegre, we're struggling to get those over 60 to their second shot of the vaccine. People waiting in line for 5 or so hours, chaos. How can they start with 50 to 59 when 60 and over are not finished? Oh my gosh, Anna, that is such an important question. And unfortunately, I personally don't have an answer for that. My hunch, and I could be wrong, is that you're probably overwhelmed by this, and I cannot blame you. This whole situation is overwhelming. But whenever I've questioned whatever the authorities are doing, I have to remind myself that the authorities are in place because they have a better idea of how to handle these things than I do. The only thing that I can recommend is that you are kind to yourself, that you find ways to look after yourself and your loved ones. And if indeed there are other people out there that are still struggling on their own, we can try to win all those battles, but we can always do that. So my wishes are that you will be able to take care of yourself and find a way not to become overwhelmed by the fact that even the government can make mistakes here and there. Let's see, what else do we have? Yes. J.R. Richardson asked, where do I register for the Ixtapa Dome vaccination? Curb card for ID, and is it today Thanks. Well, JR, I saw that you didn't get many responses. In fact, you didn't get any responses when I last checked this comment, probably because nobody had any answers to any of your questions. But I can tell you this, every single day, we provide show notes for Coffee and Headlines. I'm sure you know that because you've been here before. The show notes are there for two reasons. Number one, because I want to make sure that you know that all the information we provide comes from a reliable source, or as reliable as they're going to get. And number two, because when we share headlines and basic content of an article or a news note, the show notes are there for you to go explore it on your own time. And you're probably going to say, well, it's in Spanish. And I'm probably going to reply, well, that's what Google Translate is for. The fact of the matter is that at least one or two of your questions were answered by that article. Curb card for ID is necessary, and I mentioned that yesterday. And is it today? Yes, I mentioned that yesterday too. And today we have referred to the fact that it was yesterday, it is today, and it is also tomorrow. But this begs the question, are you guys even checking the show notes? Are the show notes important or useful for you? Because if they're not, you won't hurt my feelings if you let me know. And because we spend a fair amount of time making sure that the show notes are there for you to explore in your own leisurely time. So if you think our time would be better spent providing other kinds of information or using the time differently, by all means, please let us know in your comments. Then we have this one from Francie Victoria. So fucked up that the restaurant has no way of explaining their side. Fucked up. Well, that was delicious. Let's see. Francie, I've never seen you before, so you are either new or you have been part of the silent majority. Either way, I do have a few words for you. First of all, I'm sorry you seem to be having a bad day, and I hope that today is a better day for you. Secondly, please know that we love the F word here. We do. In fact, we use it quite frequently in English and Spanish. We even have a parrot bird that we summon whenever, we cannot explain certain things. And I'll be happy to, no, not tonight. Today is not a good time for the parrot. But while we use the F word quite a bit, we try to use it productively, and we use it in kindness, and we never direct it at other people in the way you've dumped it here. Again, if you were having a bad day, I'm really sorry for that, but still your F-bombs are not welcome. Kindly find a kinder way to share your thoughts with us, or kindly go back to the silent majority. And by the way, we have an email address, and we have chat, and we have a feedback form. So if the owner of Bonito Kitchen has something to say to me, I'm sure that Francine will contact me. She may or may not appreciate the remarks I made, but I'm going to welcome her feedback either way. The notion that the restaurant has no way of explaining their side, I'm afraid, lives only in your head. And now, let's turn to the weather. Rest in peace, Michael Collins, says the weather. Yes, absolutely. Michael Collins, former NASA astronaut, passed away. Let me tell you that the weather forecast for today is humid and partly cloudy. Through the day, a high temperature of 30 and a low temperature of 21. Friday, we can expect a partly cloudy day, a high temperature of 30 and a low temperature of 20. And Saturday, a clear day with a high temperature of 31 and a low temperature of 18. To wrap things up, we don't have leisurely headlines per se, but I would like to share that I think God was in a jazzy mood on this date back in 1899, 1922, and 1930, because three truly extraordinary jazz musicians were born on that day, on today, in those years. The musicians are Duke Ellington, Claus Ogerman, and Toots Thielemans. Rather than telling you about them, I will include links to 3 videos in the show notes that will hopefully allow their extraordinary musicianship speak for them. I will continue to hope for the opportunity to once again be able to meet with you, or at least some of you, to explore, discuss, and discover music together in person in a music appreciation lecture setting, which will hopefully be much more nurturing and productive and fun than doing it here. And that's what we have for today. I hope you've enjoyed today's broadcast. I hope you have found some inspiration, some amusement, or something to think about. Between now and the next time we get together, stay kind, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay in touch.